There is one thing in this world you should never do, not even if your mom paid you to do it, and that is mess with the wrong bearded guy. At first glance, he looks no different from some random farmer. But this man is actually known as the undefeated beast of the cage, because once he steps into the ring, his opponent is guaranteed to lose at least a few teeth. If things get worse, they either end up in orthopedic surgery or crippled for life. With his godlike striking speed, he can throw 1,000 punches in 60 seconds. So sometimes, in the blink of an eye, his opponent is already knocked out cold and kissing the floor. His name is Patton, an MMA fighter who held the title of King of the Ring for 8 straight years. But talent and trouble usually come as a package deal. Patton made one stupid mistake. He got involved with drugs. So the cops took off his fighting gloves and replaced them with a shiny pair of silver bracelets shaped like the number 8. From that moment on, Patton's life went downhill fast. After countless fights inside prison, Patton finally got the chance to become a fighter again. But he made a decision. He would disappear from the fight world completely. 10 years later, the once invincible champion was now just a broke deckhand, fishing for other people so he could scrape together enough money to survive. After working all week out at sea, the boat owner only paid them $400.
It's $400 for a whole week of busting our ass.
We barely caught any fish, and you still want real money? Be grateful you even got food to eat.
If I don't get paid, you don't get paid.
Why am I only getting $200?
Great, you can fucking count, you big dildo. You lost the bloody trap again, buffhead.
The fact that I'm not sending you back home to herd ducks is already me being generous, you dumbass. After that, the two men had no choice but to swallow their pride and listen to the captain run his mouth, yelling at them like he was spraying them with a fire hose. Even so, Patton still gave his friend Antonio $100 to help him out.
300 each. That's fair.
Patton then drove home in his old car that looked like it belonged in a scrapyard. His face showed every bit of exhaustion from the hard days of work and the financial pressure crushing his family. At this point, the only things that still made him happy were his wife and his daughter. On top of the pile of unpaid bills waiting for them, his wife told him that night that their daughter's school had asked for the full year's tuition upfront. $6,500 was way too much money, and if they could not pay it, their daughter would have to transfer schools. That left Patton feeling crushed, because as a father, he could not even provide for his own child. Even more surprisingly, his wife, Luciana, told him she had good news. Their family was about to welcome a new recruit into the world. That instantly brought a truly happy smile to Patton's face. But deep down, he was also carrying a very real fear. Sure, people say a baby comes with blessings, but without money, those blessings are not exactly going to keep anyone from starving. So Patton had no other choice. He dragged himself back out to sea, trading sweat for dollars once again. But when life is already bad, somehow it still finds a way to get worse. For some reason, after pulling up every single trap, they did not catch one damn fish.
Yeah, fuck that, there's no fish again. Got fucking useless techniques, mate.
The captain blamed all of that bad luck on Patton. You worthless dock rat. Because of you, I've been broke for weeks. Go home and hide behind your wife's skirt. You're the worst damn burden I've ever had to deal with. Patton was so pissed he was about to smash this guy's mouth in.
So what are you Hey! Not so fucking strong now, are ya? You take one more step, princess, and I'll light you up like a fucking bonfire. Get on your tricycle, you clown.
That night, Patton took out all his anger on the punching bag with terrifying power. Luciana gently wrapped her arms around her husband's sweat-soaked back. She understood that the violent pressure inside him was still burning deep in his chest. His wife's embrace was the only thing keeping the man inside him from being swallowed by the beast. He could not stop blaming himself for letting his family fall into such a desperate situation. Patton lowered his head, completely powerless in front of a road with no way forward. Just then, a live fight appeared on television between two fighters, Malon and Xavier. Malon was Patton's younger brother, a fighter Patton had trained in MMA years ago, and now, Malon was undefeated this season with 7 straight wins. His opponent, Xavier, was the reigning champion of the arena and was known as the Pulverizer. The fight began. Malon immediately rushed in, trying to score points with straight punches early. But his opponent did not seem bothered at all. Right after that, Xavier counterattacked and hammered Malon with a storm of punches, forcing him back against the cage. Malon could not fight back against that overwhelming power. In the end, Malon took one punch after another straight to the face. Then Xavier threw in a kick for good measure and knocked him out on the spot. But Xavier was playing dirty. He still followed up with one more hit, leaving Malon completely unconscious right there in the cage. The referee had clearly signaled for the fight to stop, but Xavier deliberately broke the rules anyway. That left Patton frozen, terrified for the life of that reckless kid. The whole family rushed to the hospital and saw Malon's girlfriend, Emily, sitting outside the hospital room. She said Malon had suffered a traumatic brain injury, and there was a blood clot from Xavier's punch. Hearing that was like getting struck by lightning. Patton had to hold back his pain and become the support his family needed to survive this storm. While they were waiting for the surgeon, Xavier's manager, Maddie, suddenly showed up and gave Emily a sympathy bouquet. But the person he was really looking for was Patton, the legendary beast of the cage from back in the day. Maddie got straight to the point. I respect you more than anyone on earth, but that reckless kid Malon? Big head, brain like a grape. You'll get $75,000 for one fight against Xavier, a former champion with a prison record facing the current reigning champion. On top of that, 10 years ago, Patton once knocked Xavier out in just 6 seconds. This would definitely be the most exciting fight in the world. And with the whole revenge for Malon angle, the arena would have millions of people cheering.
My guy, he's now champion in the world, and he just put your brother in the fucking hospital. 80K. You agree to that? I sell the shit out of it.
Maddie talked until his throat nearly gave out, but Patton only replied, I'm not a fighter anymore. After saying that, he turned and left.
$100,000.
That massive number made Patton hesitate.
He's the one taking all the risk. All you need to do is show up on fight night, and you get paid.
Just show up and collect the money. I'll handle everything else. Right then, Luciana and their little girl showed up. So Maddie immediately slipped his business card to Luciana and told her to think carefully. A while later, Malon's surgery was finished. However, he was still trapped in a daze and had not woken up yet. Suddenly, Emily told Patton something else. Malon had just borrowed $50,000 from the boss of the Axe Gang. What the hell were you two doing to end up owing that much money? There's a misunderstanding here. That money was for building his name, renting a place, hiring a trainer, and getting a Lamborghini. Of course, if he won, we would pay it back right away. And yet now, he was lying flat on a hospital bed. Seeing Malon on the edge of the abyss, Patton felt pain squeeze his heart because he had failed to protect his younger brother. On the way home, his wife pressed him about the insane deal between him and Xavier's manager. Patton had no choice but to tell her everything. However, to put her mind at ease, he said he had already turned it down flat. Luciana looked deep into Patton's eyes and sensed that something bad was coming. Because of money and survival, the beast inside her husband was about to be awakened. The next morning, Patton warmed up his body with a marathon run from his house to the seawall. By chance, he heard a martial arts news segment on the radio, and the guest was Xavier himself.
No, there's been some concerns, chatter, that last hit you put on Malon, that was illegal.
Come on, illegal? Oh, in that case, all my punches should be illegal. You know, Malon James, he asked for a beating, and that's what he got.
Lucky for him, I was in a good mood that day. Otherwise, I would have hit him a few more times. If you're stupid enough to get hurt, that's on you. The radio host was speechless and quickly changed the topic to Xavier's past. 10 years ago, you were knocked out by Malon's older brother, Patton, in just 6 seconds. That might be the fastest fight in MMA cage history. So, do you feel embarrassed about that?
Yeah. You know what, Dan? I'm not going to make excuses for that. But if I could fight that little bitch tomorrow, oh, I would knock him out in 2.0 seconds.
One punch wouldn't be enough, and one kick would be too much. Hearing those words, Patton was absolutely pissed. His blood rushed straight to his head, and he stormed into the high-rise building to meet Maddie and lock in the deal. $150,000, half up front and the other half on fight night. Maddie was so happy he agreed immediately. What? That amount is just a drop in the ocean to me. But you'd better put on a real fight. Otherwise, your whole family is going to have a bitter ending.
When it's time to try. How much? I did 6 months. You have 7 weeks.
After saying that, Maddie handed Patton the contract to sign. The crushing debts and his younger brother's life had forced him to bleed again. With money in hand, Patton immediately went to the Axe Gang's territory, the place where Malon had borrowed $50,000.
Who the fuck are you? My name's Patton James. Yes, Barry.
The two guys were about to jump Patton when the gang leader arrived and said, "You two idiots are blind as bats. Do you even know who you're messing with?"
This little prick.
Go on, mate. See what happens next. It's both of you counselling up in hospital. Well, fuck off and let him in.
After saying that, the gang leader hugged Patton with deep respect. Turns out, during their time in prison, the two of them had once shared the same cell. "I always tell these guys about what you did in prison. You took on 5 men by yourself. That was the best fight I've ever seen." Patton did not waste time. He handed the boss $50,000 plus interest. "I'm paying off the debt for that reckless kid Malon.
You and him are square.
I've always respected you. If you ever need anything, just call me, especially if it's about money. Really, anytime. I'm always ready." Patton only gave him a smile, shook his hand, and left. The next day, Patton went to a gym to find Master Sammy, the man who had trained him years ago and helped turn him into the undefeated king of the ring. Everything was still exactly the same as the day Patton went to prison. The sound of punches suddenly echoed in his head, tearing through the quiet space. There, Patton met Rose, the daughter of his old master, who was training a group of kids. The moment she saw the legendary fighter from back in the day, she was as happy as if she had just won the lottery. Because when Rose was still a little girl, she had admired Patton deeply and saw him as a role model for young fighters. "Oh my God, you disappeared for 10 years. What hole did you crawl out of?" After greeting each other, Patton said he wanted to see his master, but Rose stopped him.
I need a trainer. Took a fight. It's in 7 weeks.
Who are you fighting?
Xavier Grau.
"Bullshit. No way that's happening. In 7 weeks. Holy crap. Is that actually true?" Right then, Master Sammy appeared.
Hey, Dad. Look what the cat dragged in.
How you doing, Sam?
He's got a fight in 7 weeks. Xavier Grau. He's looking to come back and train.
But the moment he saw his former student, his eyes were filled with hatred. Because years ago, he had invested his entire fortune into Patton. But then the guy went to prison and disappeared without a trace.
Fuck off.
Those words hit Patton like a bucket of cold water to the face, while Master Sammy turned and walked inside. Rose said, "I'll train you. Ever since I tore my knee ligament, I gave up professional fighting and became a coach." Patton reluctantly agreed because, hey, something was still better than nothing. Early the next morning, Patton was getting ready to head to the gym when he suddenly saw his friend Antonio standing stiff as a statue outside his house.
What the hell are you doing here? It's 5 o'clock in the morning.
I left Captain Fuckwit. Wasn't fun without you anymore.
"I'm going back to the ring too, and now I need to train." After saying that, Patton was about to leave, but seeing his friend looking as sad as a kicked puppy, he could not bring himself to walk away. So he said, "I need someone to help me train." Right after that, the two of them walked to the gym together. But Rose immediately objected because Patton had brought in some random nobody who could not fight to help him compete for the championship belt. "You're going to use him for takedowns and submission holds." Antonio was a giant.
What do you weigh, Neal?
I was 350 last time I checked.
The idea was not bad, so Rose let this walking barrel join the team.
Welcome to the team, Neal.
Right after that, the beautiful coach secretly trained Patton behind her father's back with an MMA sparring session. His muscles had been asleep for far too long, so when he faced an amateur fighter, Patton was clearly overwhelmed and could not even get back up. His training partner could even lock up his entire body with ease, leaving him completely helpless. And in the end, Patton had to tap out. Sammy saw the whole thing, gave him only a contemptuous smile, then walked inside. Patton could not take it anymore and rushed over to ask him, "Why? We used to be like father and son."
Fuck off. I beat him before.
Things change. You wouldn't last 30 seconds against Xavier Grau.
I don't need to last 30 seconds. I just need to show up and get paid.
I see. Well, if that's the case, you are definitely wasting Rose's time. So why don't you just piss off and do some Zumba classes?
Luckily, Rose stepped in to defuse the situation, telling him to ignore Sammy and get back to training. They moved on to wrestling drills. Patton tried to grab his friend's leg, but the guy was built like a brick wall. At nearly 2 meters tall and weighing 169 kilograms, Antonio was impossible for Patton to take down no matter what he tried. After years away from the sport, his sluggishness was painfully obvious. Rose kept shouting, pushing Patton to escape the brutal chokehold, but nothing worked. Then, out of nowhere, an uninvited guest showed up. It was Malon, Patton's reckless younger brother, fresh out of the hospital. He should have been thanking his older brother. Instead, this ungrateful punk showed up acting all cocky, saying Patton had accepted Xavier's challenge. Yeah, so what? You really think you can beat him? That fight is mine. You're washed up, dear big brother. That's my business. I'll pay you back the money you covered for me last night. You don't have to do that.
You can't hack it.
Seeing the two of them about to throw hands, Sammy spoke up to stop them, but Malon snapped at him instead.
Fuck off, you dud!
Easy, put your fucking head in.
You think you're gonna help him? Fight Xavier in the circle and do something that I couldn't? Or no, user. You're soft. And well, you know, everyone knows that in jail you were just taking it like the little bitch you was.
Luckily, everyone stepped in and held the two of them back. Otherwise, a brother versus brother war would have broken out right there. Right after that, Rose took Malon away. Sammy advised him, "Don't get back in the cage before your head injury heals. Go crawl into a coffin, old man." This guy was truly beyond saving, leaving Sammy speechless over these two brothers. When Patton returned home, Luciana saw the bruises on her husband's face and immediately pressed him.
What's that mark on your face?
Nothing. Just an accident at work, that's all.
Smelling the lie right away, Luciana angrily stood up from the dinner table. Knowing that a man who worships his wife lives forever, Patton had no choice but to tell her the truth. "I'm doing all of this for our family. $150,000 is not a small amount of money for us. But you promised you would never go back to the cage. Our daughter and I don't want to see you end up in orthopedic surgery." Patton could not convince the boss of the house, so the two of them fell into a cold war. That night, he had to sleep alone on the sofa. Early the next morning, Patton continued his brutal training, but the result was no better than the day before. He was still getting wrecked by an amateur fighter like he had never fought a day in his life. Suddenly, Master Sammy appeared and spoke up. He's not the beast he used to be anymore. Now he's just a deckhand who spends his days lifting fish traps. However, this was still a good sign, because at the very least, his master was still paying attention to his student. After training that day, Patton gathered all his courage and went to see his old master, hoping they could talk like men. Sammy said, "Back then, I sold my house and invested in this gym for you. Even when my wife tried to stop me, even when she left me, I never doubted that decision. And then you screwed me over worse than anyone ever had. Fine, you got involved with drugs. But after you got out of prison, you should have come back to the cage. Instead, you just disappeared." After saying that, the old master broke down in tears because he had lost too much because of Patton. "I'm sorry. I fought a lot in prison. There wasn't a single night where I could sleep in peace. The guards dragged me out and turned me into a fighting machine for their entertainment. I completely broke down. So when I got released, the only thing I could think about was running away from reality. I accepted this fight because of my family and because of my brother. I'm selling the last piece of my dignity to step into that cage and take $150,000. It's humiliating, but I accept it if it means my loved ones can have a better life." Hearing that, Sammy finally understood the deep pain buried inside his student's heart. At that moment, the two of them could only look at each other as the bond they once had began to come back to life. On the way home, Patton walked alone with a heavy heart. Even though his master had forgiven him, a bloody fight was still waiting for him ahead. He did not know what to do because now he was older and weaker. Could he really survive the storm? The next morning, in Bangkok, Thailand, the International MMA Council called an emergency meeting and announced, "Because your illegal punch sent your opponent to the hospital, you are suspended from competition for 6 months, stripped of the championship belt, and fined $75,000. Are you people insane? This punishment is worse than murder. Then what about my fight with Patton? Obviously, it will be cancelled, since you are currently suspended." That answer went in one ear and out the other. Xavier and his manager immediately returned to the United States. Meanwhile, Patton was still training like crazy because as long as he was still breathing, there was still a chance to turn things around. Suddenly, Xavier and his manager showed up. And of course, they did not bring anything good with them. They brought a trap. "There's been a small change to your upcoming fight. It's going underground." "Why?" "Because I got suspended because of your dumbass brother. Tough luck. Guess life hates you. I only fight fair and square in official championship events, not some illegal underground cage. It's just a change of location. Listen, I may be good looking, but I'm not easy. Stick to the contract." Pay me $75,000, and this ends right here. So you're just a coward who's afraid to die. If you've got the guts, step into the cage and eat my punches. Patton calmly replied, a coward? Don't forget who knocked you face first into the cage in just 6 seconds. Xavier was so pissed, all he could say was, show up, and I'll be waiting. After saying that, they had no choice but to turn around and leave, because they could not do anything to Patton right now. Patton immediately went home and told Luciana the shocking good news that the fight had been canceled. Now you can relax. Only then did some of the fear in Luciana's heart finally ease. We've got an extra $75,000 now, so you can buy whatever designer stuff you want. Luciana only smiled in delight, not knowing what else to say. But Patton was different. His eyes stared into the distance, because he knew those bastards would definitely not let this go that easily. And just as Patton feared, the next day he happened to run into his younger brother by the beach. He stopped him and said, you should be home recovering. 10 years ago, I was a nobody, and you left me all alone. Now that I'm famous, what do you want from me? Xavier was right. You're just a coward. I'll show you how he gets taken down. You're insane. You're no match for Xavier. Malon ignored him and was about to leave, but Patton stopped him and said, tomorrow evening is my daughter's birthday. She wants to see her uncle on her special day. She's a lot like you. She likes doing everything herself, and she's left-footed. Patton thought Malon might be moved by that, but instead, the kid just smirked, spat on the ground, and walked away. Patton could only stand there, completely speechless at this walking disaster. The next afternoon, Patton, his wife, and his friend were preparing his daughter's birthday party when Malon suddenly showed up with his girlfriend, looking flashy and excited. Malon gave the little girl a secret birthday gift. The other kids at the party got gifts too. After that, Malon gave his older brother a warm hug, though it felt a little fake. Then he immediately left for no reason. Patton sensed something was wrong, so he chased after him and tried to get an answer. Malon only replied, tonight, I'm going to shine. My life is about to start a new chapter. After saying that, his reckless little brother hit the gas, shifted gears, and sped away on his bike. At first, Patton thought Malon was just going out to party or do something stupid, but after the birthday party ended, Patton's daughter opened the gift and everyone was shocked. Inside, it was full of cash. They all questioned Malon's girlfriend, and that was when she told them everything. Turns out, even though the doctor had warned him that his traumatic brain injury had not healed yet, Malon had accepted a life-or-death fight against Xavier in an underground cage. For $75,000 to pay Patton back, Malon was willing to risk his own life. By then, Malon had already arrived at the underground arena. Xavier also appeared right away. Although this fight did not have many spectators, the people placing bets were all underworld sharks. So this fight was going to help Xavier's manager make a very serious amount of money. Put him straight in a coffin, and the audience will love our show even more. But don't end it too fast. The fight began. This arena had no referee and no damn rules, so the two of them just charged in. They could fight however they wanted. Malon was quickly grabbed by the leg and slammed to the floor. He got back up and kept fighting. Then he started counterattacking like a storm, hammering Xavier straight in the mouth. But Xavier barely felt a thing. In fact, he even started taunting him. The guy used elbows, then followed up with thunderous kicks that slammed into Malon's chest. Malon dodged a lightning-fast strike and moved back to regain his balance. Then he jumped in with a punch and kept attacking non-stop. But Xavier's defense was way too solid. He was like a moving iron pillar. His speed was also insane, so he quickly sent Malon crashing to the floor again with a heel strike. This fight had already drawn nearly 800,000 live viewers on the black market website. Xavier rushed in, grabbed Malon's arm, and hammered his ribs. Moving behind him, Xavier slammed him down like a rag doll. Then he grabbed his leg again, took him down, and unleashed a barrage of punches. He tried to lock Malon's arm, then went for a shoulder lock, but failed. Malon was not backing down either. He found a way to escape and counterattack. However, Xavier was still Xavier. He was too fast and too dangerous. Xavier used his legs to trap Malon's neck, but Malon twisted his body and broke free, answering blow for blow. He wrapped his arm around Xavier's neck and locked up his entire body. It looked like he finally had it, but Xavier suddenly rolled out and escaped, bringing both fighters back to an even position. Malon was exhausted, but he still forced himself to charge in. He lifted Xavier off the ground and slammed him painfully onto a table. Then he landed 2 shots to the face, making Xavier stand up furious and switch into kill mode. Xavier immediately unleashed a non-stop storm of punches and kicks, leaving Malon unable to defend himself. Malon tried to get back up, but things did not get any better. In the end, Xavier spun around and landed a spinning kick straight to Malon's face, sending his head crashing into the steel post. Malon's skull cracked open, blood pouring everywhere. Then he collapsed on the spot, completely done. His arrogance had cost him dearly. At the same time, outside the arena, Patton and his friend had finally found the place. Seeing 3 guards at the entrance, Patton walked up and asked to go inside, but they immediately kicked him out. Suddenly, his friend threw a punch and used a headbutt, taking them down with ease. "I thought you didn't like fighting." "I don't like it. Doesn't mean I don't know how." The 2 of them immediately rushed inside, only to see that Malon was already dead. Patton held his younger brother's blood-soaked body in his arms and kept screaming in pain. But everything was already too late. The tragedy could no longer be reversed. The only thing left was the sinister smile of the mastermind behind it all. And then, Malon was laid to rest at the cemetery in his hometown. At the funeral, no one said a single word. There was only crying. Patton placed a pair of gloves on the grave, saying his final goodbye from the deepest part of his heart to his reckless little brother. As he was leaving, the mayor informed him, "Your brother signed a life and death agreement, so Xavier cannot be prosecuted." Patton suddenly saw his sworn enemy hanging around nearby. It was Xavier. With that smug look on his face, he seemed like he was trying to provoke Patton. At that moment, the fire of revenge inside Patton truly exploded. In the days that followed, Patton fell into depression. The pain of losing his own younger brother tore his heart apart. Patton could only turn to alcohol to forget his grief. But even in his drunken haze, the image of his younger brother kept coming back, giving his mind no peace at all. Sobbing like a child, Patton was held by Luciana. She understood the helplessness buried deep inside him. The next day, Xavier appeared on television and talked about Malon's death. That fight was actually meant for Patton, Malon's older brother. But Patton is a coward who pushed his own brother into a death match. Hearing those words, Patton knew that if he kept letting a dog get too comfortable, it would start licking his face. Running away was no longer the best option. Luciana also understood that now, so she did not stop him. Instead, she said, "Do what you need to do. Make those evil enemies pay for their crimes in blood." "I'm sorry I didn't understand you before." After saying that, Luciana gave Patton a passionate kiss, as if giving him a 500% power boost to fight for justice. Early the next morning, Patton arrived at the gym and saw Master Sammy already waiting for him. Unexpectedly, Sammy said that 3 years ago, Rose had torn her ligament. Back then, the girl looked completely broken. But then she made up her mind to become the best coach possible, even though Sammy tried to stop her. And the truth was, Rose was a great coach, much better than him. "Take back what you lost. Good luck." After saying that, Master Sammy lit an incense stick. He prayed to the ancestors in the afterlife, asking them to protect his student, the one who had once lost his way, and help him stand firm through the storm. Right after that, Patton officially began the journey to awaken the beast that had been sleeping inside his body. First came stamina, because if you have your health, you have everything. Patton pushed every muscle in his body to the absolute limit. Besides casually warming up with a 300-kilometer run every morning, he also had a light snack of 2,000 kilometers on a bike, cutting through the wind like a machine. Once his endurance came back, Patton moved into brutal skill training. For all these years, he had forgotten his fighting techniques. But now, Coach Rose would bring them back to life one more time. Day by day, Patton's movements changed at a terrifying speed. Even his giant friend could now be slammed to the floor with just one takedown. Once the monster inside him was thawed out, Patton could take on 4 fighters by himself inside the cage without even breaking a sweat. His eyes were locked in. His strikes were deadly. His defense was tight. Every punch came out with brutal force, crushing his opponents without mercy. His roar echoed through the gym, proving that the beast inside Patton had officially returned. And this time, he was even more dangerous than before. Watching from the outside, Sammy was extremely satisfied with his student's power. Meanwhile, on the other side, Xavier was also pushing his training intensity to the highest level to prepare for this fight. His championship title had been stripped away, so this would be the fight that decided his entire life. And then, fight day finally arrived. Patton also arrived in the land of smiles. The first thing he did was pray to Buddha, asking for strength, luck, and the power to kick that dog Xavier's mouth wide open. At the biggest stadium in Bangkok, nearly 1 million spectators had come to cheer. On top of that, tens of thousands of fans were watching the fight live on television. Of course, his wife was there too, along with Emily, Malon's girlfriend. The return of the legendary beast had attracted massive attention. Everyone was cheering for him to smash Xavier's brutal mouth in. With a record of 111 wins, including 96 knockouts, Patton clearly had more than enough experience to step into this fight. The stadium lights went out, and that was when Xavier appeared. Even though the crowd was not cheering for him, the guy was way too confident in his own strength. After 10 years, Patton was now facing the man he had once knocked out in just 6 seconds. But this time, Xavier came back as a completely different version of himself. After the referee explained the rules, the two fighters did not even bother touching gloves. They started the fight immediately. Xavier rushed in with a godlike knee strike, forcing Patton back against the cage. He kept attacking with speed faster than an X switching sides, leaving Patton unable to escape. Suddenly, Xavier grabbed Patton's leg and lifted him high into the air. Then the two men struggled for control, neither one giving in. Patton counterattacked, but it did not do much. Xavier still had the upper hand. Then he suddenly wrapped an arm around Patton's neck and locked his arm. Patton broke free from the hold, only to get fed another serving of pain. After dodging a high kick, Patton quickly moved back to the center of the cage to reset the fight. Xavier gestured at the bloody spot on the floor, taunting him. But Patton remained extremely calm and careful. He attacked Xavier, wrapped around his waist, then hammered his ribs over and over. Seizing the chance in a split second, Patton locked Xavier's entire body. It looked like he was about to break Xavier's neck, but Xavier managed to escape, then reversed him painfully. Since he could not finish Patton, Xavier pushed him away and attacked head-on. He landed another shot, but then Patton grabbed his leg and slammed him to the floor. The two kept locking each other up with highly skilled techniques. You could say they were basically 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Dead even. Back on their feet, Patton threw a kick, then drove Xavier into the cage. He went wild, unleashing thunderous punches and turning Xavier into a punching bag. But suddenly, Xavier reversed the position. With legs like guillotine blades, he hit Patton with knee strikes, then spun around and landed a spinning kick that sent Patton crashing to the floor. Luckily, the bell rang to end round 1, so the referee stopped him. Xavier still looked full of energy, while Patton seemed to be feeling the damage after that round. Rose kept encouraging him, telling him he was doing great to keep his spirit up. Round 2 began immediately. Patton dodged a strike and tried to grab Xavier's leg for a takedown, but failed. Xavier started hammering him in the head over and over without mercy. Patton leaned back, kicked Xavier away with both feet, then got back up. At this point, our beast fighter seemed to be losing his cool. He threw 2 wide hook punches, but Xavier dodged them both. Then Xavier gave him a taste of his own medicine. He countered with the exact same move Patton had just thrown and took control from the top. Patton only had one option left. He attacked Xavier's lower body, then landed an uppercut. Right away, Xavier jumped in and locked him in a chokehold. He played dirty and tried to snap Patton's neck, but failed. Then he switched into a full body lock. Xavier poured everything he had into finishing Patton, just like he had done to his younger brother Malon. Patton could not escape against Xavier's strength. Millions of viewers held their breath, afraid that the ghost of the past was about to return one more time. Patton struggled inside the crushing hold, then slowly started fading out. But the bell rang to end round 2, saving his life. His mind was still fighting, but his legs refused to listen anymore. Then, thinking about Malon's death, Patton suddenly sprang back up like a god returning from the dead. His mind was in chaos. Rose encouraged him to stay calm. You beat him in 6 seconds before. At that moment, Patton stood up with murderous energy in his eyes. It seemed like the beast inside him was only just waking up. Xavier attacked, but Patton immediately dodged. Xavier threw a kick, then followed with a knee strike straight toward Patton's chin, but it did not do a damn thing. Xavier wanted to end it quickly. He rushed in, wrapped around Patton's neck, slammed him down, then attacked with everything he had. But Patton's defense was rock solid. Suddenly, Patton grabbed his leg, moved behind him, lifted Xavier off the ground, and slammed him down hard. The fight continued. Then this animal played dirty again, poking Patton in the eye before throwing a straight punch. The referee ordered the fight to stop. Xavier shook his head, acting like he had done nothing wrong. The crowd booed, furious at Xavier's dirty move. And yet, no penalty was given. Patton accepted it and returned to the fight. He had to end this, but his vision was already damaged. Xavier attacked, but Patton calmly defended, then countered perfectly, driving him back into the cage. At this point, Patton's punches were heavy as hell, like they weighed 1,000 pounds. His fists looked as big as melons, leaving Xavier completely dazed. Xavier tried to counter, but it did not work. Every punch Patton threw was packed with pure hatred, repeatedly rearranging Xavier's teeth and making the crowd go absolutely wild. In the end, that animal was forced to kiss the canvas under the power of Patton, the beast, and Patton won. He screamed in happiness along with millions of fans. Even his old master said, "Smart move, that's my boy." Besides the championship belt, Patton also received a $3 million prize, giving him and his family a chance to start a new chapter. But most importantly, he had taken back his honor and avenged his late younger brother, Malon. In the end, everything was finally over. Through this movie, we can see that nothing in this world is impossible. As long as we have faith, we can overcome any hardship and challenge. Don't forget to like, share the video, and subscribe to support us. Thank you all so much.